This guy.
What? Yeah. What is shaking? It's your boy Marc Cordon, episode 83 of the Golden Mike Live. Alex VanHouten is here. Do you know how educated I am? I know that VanHouten means out of the woods in Dutch. I bet you guys didn't know that. I bet you guys didn't know that. True or true? Does it mean out of the woods?
True story. Another translation is he who makes his home in the wilderness.
No, don't do another translation. You just need to say true, brother.
Oh, sorry. He's very well learned and he's not.
Yeah, we got Alex today. Alex VanHouten is a 14-year trainer, current coach, badass dad. This is what we're going to be talking about today. Do you see these two sexy men in front of you? These two sexy men, we are what you call DILFs. We are what you call DILFs. Give us an arm. Let's see that arm. Is there a little vein there?
I'm working on it.
Oh my gosh!
The camera adds 5 pounds.
Oh my gosh!
This guy.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. This is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the idea of redefining what it means by dad bod. You know, now I might have maybe some of the more traditional ideas of dad bod, but also at the same time, there's on his podcast we talked about non-traditional things, and I can't wait to explore the whole thing with you today, Alex. Alex, this is the 83rd episode. Do you know why?
Because you've done 82 others. Why? I am also well learned and did my.
You are also well learned in the ways of numbers. And
this guy.
Man, you can teach your kid to go to 83. Yeah. I made it to 82, and this one is 83. And you know why we made it to 83?
Why is that, brother?
Because I produce this show. You can't stop me. You can't stop me and my dad bod. But for those of you who are meeting me for the first time, my name is Marc Cordon, founder of the Make Money Coaching Program. Just launched a new program called The Joy Revolution. It was awesome. It was amped last night. But more importantly, I'm a positive psychology coach, which just means this. On a scale of 1 to 10, everyone watching right now, live or the replay, mark this out. How happy are you feeling right now? Scale of 1 to 10. Number 2 is this. Scale of 1 to 10. How much do you feel like you're living your purpose out? All right, scale of 1 to 10. That's all positive psychology is. Now, if you're living at a 10 on both feeling good and living in purpose, you don't need me, baby. Just live your life. Live your dad bod, your mom bod, your kid bod, whatever bod you have, take it and live it. All right? So that's what positive psychology is. So I got a question for you, Alex. It's a double-ended question because I know you're a psychologist yourself. It's a double-barreled question. But are you feeling good and are you living in your full purpose today, dude?
That's a great question, man. I feel fantastic, partially because I have quite a bit of caffeine in my system and partially because I had a good run and a great leg workout this morning. So I've got the endorphins and the testosterone and the growth hormone. So that's on the subjective side of things. But in the existential side of things, man, every single day I wake up, I'm really excited about what I do for work. I'm really excited about what I'm doing in my home as a husband and a father and a man. But I will say that I do wake up most mornings thinking, just don't say something stupid, please. Because I do a lot of, I do a lot of public speaking. I do a lot of coaching and whatnot. And so in that sense, it's like, just keep it together, Alex. You say the right stuff now.
Okay, I just got to ask you, when was the last time you put your foot in your mouth, dude?
That's a great question. I was on the Generation You Can show, actually, which is a company I'm affiliated with. It's a supplement company who helps people with blood sugar regulation and whatnot. Anyway, I started to drop the F-bomb. And I'm trying really hard. I have a 3-year-old here at home. I'm trying really hard I'm cleaning up my act. Not because like cursing is like wrong from a moral stand. Some people think so. But just to be authentic with my words and really think through what it is I would like to say. And I'm like, and that And in that moment, I had like a crisis. I was like, what do I say instead? I don't, what's the, dang. So anyway, I don't even know what I did, but I did not drop the F-bomb, but I did shove my foot right in my mouth on camera live to an audience of like 400 people. So,
feel free to insert foot into mouth or drop F-bombs on this show, or insert foot into mouth and drop an F-bomb at the same time.
Good luck with that.
It's total freedom.
Can I get my foot up here? I don't.
Look at this dilf showing off his flexibility.
I do comedy. I mean Pilates.
So I wanted to ask the audience watching right now, Suzanne. Good to see you. So happy to see you live or alive. I don't know what you mean by that, but I am live. Yay! It's good to see you. Say hi to Alex, the defining dad bod dilf. I'm just gonna call you it the whole time.
This guy.
But for those of you watching, put up your heart, right? Put up your heart. Alex, I want you to put up the heart symbol.
See it.
Because there is a heart symbol down there that I want you to press. If you are feeling good about life today, like Alex, you had a good run.
I did. It was great.
Feel good. You're feeling like you're living in full purpose. Pump that heart. It doesn't matter whether you're watching on the replay or you're watching live. Pump it, baby. Now, here's another thing. A lot of people think that positive psychology is all about shits and giggles 24/7. It's all about happiness all the time. It's all about avoiding sadness. It's not. It's not. It really is about the ups and downs and the all-arounds of life. If you are feeling happiness 24/7, you are either dead or you are a psychopath. Susan, are you a psychopath? That's a lot of love, but we will accept it. I don't think Susan is. But so remember that. So if you woke up this morning and you're like, dude, I was so happy last week, and like, I don't know what's going on, but like, I'm not feeling good, you know? And maybe your exercise routine has gone out of whack, you know? Like, I know when I stopped roller derby, dude, I was like going through a depression, right? So maybe you're just not feeling happy, right? But also at the same time, you might be rolling out of bed. It's 12 o'clock in the afternoon here. You might be like taking your lunch break and in a job that you used to love for 20 years. And you're sitting here and you're like, dude, I'm falling out of love with it. I'm falling out of purpose with life right now. And things are a little bit weird. That's cool, dude. Your heart beats just like Alex and mine, just like Suzanne's. And this other Alex who showed up and said hi. It's very meta, but your heart, it's just like ours. It's your hero's journey to go up and down and all around. You get to tell your story to your kids. You get to tell your story on stage. You get to write it in a book. That's the adversity that we get to face. It's a privilege to face those adversities and not live 24/7 in joy. All right. So this is the third thing. This is why I do what I do. And this is the educational part of positive psychology. It's about hope. It's about hope. Whether you scored a 1, whether you scored a 10, if you are feeling like tomorrow is going to be even better than today, not because the day is crappy, but you just know you're going to grow and tomorrow is going to be even better. You're going to be a better person. There's another button down there that I want you to hit. It's not this and it's not this. It is the wow face. So I want you to hit that wow face. And what Alex is going to do is he's going to show us what the wow face looks like by doing it himself. Crazy. You did like wow face with jazz hands.
Spirit fingers, man. Spirit fingers.
I love it. I can tell you're a fun dad, bro. I can tell you're a fun dad. Given all of that, given that long-winded introduction, let's go into this, Alex.
Yeah,
what's your story?
Man, I'll give you the short story. Short story. So I started in personal training and whatnot by actually going to Vanderbilt University for chemical engineering and psychology pre-med. So none of it's related. And at the time I was deciding, do I want to be an engineer or do I want to be a doctor? And so I decided I didn't want to sit in front of a computer the rest of my life. which is kind of ironic
Yeah.
as we talk. And so from that perspective, I went toward the medical side of things, and I took a year off of school. I studied for the MCAT, and I took patients in and out of surgery for a year because I was interested in studying orthopedic surgery, and I really wanted to get a feel for it. And at the same time, and you know, when you're 19, you can do this. I don't know if you can do this elsewise, but I was working like 90 hours a week because I was also running a personal training business on the side. And I learned two things. One, I was working with 57 doctors in this hospital complex over that year, and 56 out of the 57 said, man, if I had it to do over again, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. Like, I can't be there for my kid's baseball game without somebody calling me out. You know, I've got a lot of medical school debt that I'm working to pay back. You know, if you wanted to get out of this industry, where are you going? And at the time, it was also when that whole Obamacare thing was going down. So there was a lot of confusion about how insurance was going to work and stuff. So I saw that, and I'm like, okay, well, if 56 out of 50, that's terrible odds, by the way. That's like 2% satisfaction in that career.
Yeah. I wonder what the one guy was doing differently.
He didn't have a family. That was the big thing. I was like, man, I want a kid. I want a wife, you know, maybe multiple kids, maybe multiple. No, I'm just kidding. I want multiple. I'm just kidding.
VanHouten with the joke.
My wife is going to come punch me if she's watching this. So that, well, I'll get ready. She's tiny, but she's strong. So the other thing that I learned is that I was training people, and they were paying me out of their pocket to change their lives for the better. Okay. Like I help people with peripheral arterial disease. I trained a 13-year-old power lifter. I got to train, you know, a guy, I retaught him how to walk after he shattered his tibia and fibula, right? Like, I'm getting to do this stuff. It's life-changing stuff, right? And they're paying me out of pocket. And so what I see is these people who are willing to put money down to make themselves better. And then I go to work at the hospital and I meet patients who don't want to be there and aren't listening to their doctor's recommendations, with doctors who don't want to be there either. And I was like, well, that's a no-brainer. Like, what do I want to spend the rest of my life doing? Do I want to help people that want to be helped and are willing to go the extra mile to better themselves? Or do I want to be stuck with people who don't want to be there, me not wanting to be there either? So I pursued personal training at that point. And so I've run my own business. I've worked for large corporate health chains. I've been in the industry for 14 years and done a lot of stuff. But personally, I had never struggled with my own health and fitness until my son was born. And I was like, nobody told me about this. Nobody told me about the bourbon and brownies diet that like hits you like a ton of bricks, you know? And so I was like, what's going on? I gained like 5% body fat, man. And not that everybody needs to look like this, but you know, I'm proud of my six-pack, damn it. Like, I worked hard for this thing. So what happened? And as I dove into the research, I'm like, dad bod is a biological, true thing that nobody ever talks about. And it blew me away that was a thing. So I started researching it, started diving into it, and I founded the Defining Dad Bod movement in November of last year to say, hey, we're at a time in life and we're at a time in history where, okay, it's biology, fine. Testosterone goes down, serotonin goes down, cortisol goes up, the crying hamster phase keeps you up at night. Like, that's rough. But exercise, nutrition, and lifestyle can counter all those things now, and we can decide what kind of health and fitness legacy we want to pass on to our kids. Do we want to be the balding beard belly guy who our kids are like, well, you know, when my dad was my age, he played football? Or do we want to be the guy who's put his phone down on the playground and we're doing backflips with our kids playing Frisbee? So that's what the movement's all about. And it's
pretty rad.
Yeah.
That's pretty rad. I am curious. Dad bod, the science. Like, what's the deal? Tell us more about dad bod, the science.
Man, it's crazy. You know, everybody talks about what happens in the female's body, and ladies, huge kudos to what you go through as a mom. Like, oh my God, like it's insane, right? So, there's a lot of good books on that, and and that's well explored and well talked about. But the most you'll find on dad bod is like, oh, you'll gain some sympathy weight as a dad when, you know, she's going through pregnancy and stuff. That's not it. That's not what happens, actually. There are several longitudinal studies that talk about how hormones change with a new baby in the house. And just the long and short of it, guys, as soon as a baby's born in your life, if you're in the house, it's different if you're not there when the baby's born, okay? But if you're in the house, your testosterone is going to drop to 80% of what it was before the baby was born. 80%. Okay, that's insane. Now, it takes 4 years when your youngest child is 4 years and older to bounce all the way back on average in this longitudinal study. 4 years. Now, the reason this is insane, first of all, testosterone is linked with strength, lean body mass, and fat mass, right? So muscle mass goes down, fat mass goes up. That's a rough day, right? But the other thing that's crazy in guys is your serotonin, which is your antidepressant neurotransmitter in the mind. Serotonin's linked to testosterone. So when testosterone drops, serotonin drops. Guess who gets really depressed? And guess what's a really good way to get undepressed in a really easy fashion? Bourbon and brownies, man. Alcohol makes you think you're not depressed. Damn. And brownies, that sugar, man, they'll jump that serotonin up. So you got alcohol and sugar, feels really good, helps in the immediate, doesn't help the testosterone and serotonin thing underlying the whole kit and caboodle.
So dad bod is basically something that's it's happened throughout history then.
Absolutely. From a biological standpoint, it's probably good. I mean, you have a kid. So he's 3 months old, right? Do you remember this time? Or are you too sleep deprived to remember? He's 3 months old.
Good God, I remember that time.
He's 3 months old. You're like, you just finished a really hard day of work. You lay down with your wife, who's not really interested in you, by the way, because she's got all of her oxytocin from the baby right now. So you're kind of like,
number 3.
That's right. So you lay down in bed and you're like, oh, finally I get to sleep. And you're just dog tired, right? You're dog tired. And then 2 a.m. And you're like, oh my God. If you had the same testosterone then as you did when you were an 18-year-old strapping young man before you were, biologically successful in mating, which is why the kid's here, you would pick up that baby.
I thought it was dropped off by a stork. That's what I was thinking. I still believe it.
You would pick up that baby, and the success rate for getting that baby to, to further is not good. Shaken baby syndrome's a thing. Like, when you're at your wit's end and you're sleep deprived and stupid, you don't need to be the aggressive male. And let's say you're not violent toward the baby. Fine. What about looking around for other women when your wife's not into you? Right. So the whole monogamy thing doesn't jive with super high testosterone either. So the biology is there to keep you around the baby without hurting it. And that's not the same. Gosh. Yeah, it's not the same that could be said of, male lions, for instance, or a few other animals that are known to eat their kids.
Yeah. That is really, really interesting because the reason I remember that time was because, I think with all the changes that were going on, I thought they were almost spiritual changes, right? And there are spiritual changes, right? Yeah, but in mixing with biology, like I remember thinking to myself, like I did not know how to love another human being until this person was brought into the world. Mm-hmm. Like I've never been more patient with something. I've never been. Does that make any sense? And I always thought it was this this aha moment that I was having just in terms of just growing up, but there was a biology there,
There is, for like females, that's like immediate, right? So they get this huge rush of oxytocin right after the baby's born, and it binds them together, like the mom look and the mom, and that's huge because she has to instantaneously be like, this thing is more important than me immediately. Yep. Right now, for guys, that doesn't happen quite as immediate. It takes time, right? For me, it took I love my kid. Don't get me wrong, but it took me a good 9 to 10 months before I was like, I kind of like him. He's cool. Like I would do anything for him and my wife before that, but it wasn't until about 9 or 10 months where I was like, all right, I think we'll keep you around,
Be honest. You were.
I'm being brutally honest.
Your wife wasn't giving you attention that first couple months.
True story, man. True. I was like, can we play him back? Hey, to be fair, it's a tough paradigm shift when all of a sudden you're not the star in your own movie anymore.
Absolutely. It's an ego shift, right?
Absolutely.
And then this was the other piece that I thought that my weight gain had to do with, I was becoming a little bit more sedentary at the time. Yeah. My sleep was way off And then like when the baby was up, like I'd be like, she was in the fridge, bro. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I didn't think that it had anything to do with those sort of things. And I do remember my sex drive being way out of whack at the time. So like, again, I thought that more so had to do with sleep deprivation, witnessing what I had just seen. Like it's amazing and it's wild, right? Like, oh, and so like I just thought that it was just more so these external things versus like hormone releases and stuff like that.
And I'm sure there's an interplay obviously between the environment and then the internal biology. However,
with nature and nurture, yeah,
they are deeply connected. They are deeply connected. In fact, one of the researchers I was reading actually thought that it had to do with some sort of pheromone that the female puts off while she's breastfeeding. Like, I don't know how true that is, but that was his speculation. He was like, it was such a profound effect. What's crazy about this is, let's say you're a dad who travels a lot. Maybe you're deployed in the military, or you're a truck driver or something like that. So if you spend more than 4 days a week away from your family, you don't experience the same testosterone and serotonin drop as a guy who's at home on a regular basis during that time. And I'm not saying that the answer to dad bod is to leave your family. What I love to do in this defining dad bod movement is, one, I like to hear the stories of men in the community, because I don't know everything, but I want to hear from them why they pursued health and fitness for themselves and their families. They feel, just as I do, that it's a deeply important part of being the kind of guy, kind of dad, kind of man in your community that you want to be. But also, all of us navigated that space a little bit differently. And it's powerful to hear how they navigated. But it seems like most of us who mitigated the dad bod thing, nutritionally, there was some parameters we needed to put on that, some control in our environment we needed to create around that. Exercise wise, there's ways to work out well sleep deprived that doesn't make it worse and actually helps the sleep and hormones and stuff. And then from a lifestyle perspective, sometimes you got to take the baby in the stroller and go for a walk. Sometimes you got to put it on your back and hike it into the mountains, or whatever it is that you do for fun, right? But it's very easy during that time to kick it on the couch and watch reruns on Netflix. So anyway, there's so much binge watching Netflix during that time, right? So there are very real and practical things that we can do, understanding the biology, meaning we don't have to be slaves to it. We can make a conscious decision about how we're going to deal with this in our lives, so that we're not spending the next 10 years trying to undo dad bod. We can leave a legacy of health and fitness for our kids that way.
And the one thing that's really striking, and I talked about this on your podcast, was I have no idea why, but I suddenly had a calling to join a roller derby team like 9 months after my kid was born, and it was when I was in the worst shape I'd ever been in, and there was something about the camaraderie of being around other men who had kids, and we could talk about it. But immediately you're put into a physical space. You do not want to fall and crack your head on the cement, like I had done multiple times. You also need to put yourself in an optimal place of energy, so we had a nutritionist that came in and would work with us. And so in many ways, like, I don't know if that was my natural calling, but like there was, I think I lucked out of it, and so, so for, I was super in shape afterwards, but I wanted to throw this out as well. Tuan, our brother, Alex VanHouten is the man. I bet you don't know, Tuan, what VanHouten means in Dutch. He's trying to undo the dad bod right now too. So so for all of us dilts right now that are trying to do the dad bod, and we can choose things, we can choose. What are the choices that we should be looking at right now?
That's a great question, man. And I've been in the industry for a while, 14 years. And in health and fitness, there are so many fads and a lot of research. Not all of it's relevant, but anyway, are you laughing at me or a comment?
No, I'm laughing at Tuan.
This guy's see them hearts. This guy. Oh, I love that. I love Tuan. He's the man. Biz dads for real. So that being said, there's so many fads. I didn't want to create just another fad, okay? Because dad bod is not about get your six pack by the summer. Like, it's not about that. It's a long-term vision of what your health and fitness as a dad stands for in the eyes of your kids, because they do what we do and not what we say. So the question is not like how to do this program, but I love the way you just phrased that. What decisions do we have to make as dads? And then how do we get there, right? So there's the why are we doing this? And then the how. How the heck do you get this done? Because, there's ketogenic diets and intermittent fasting and, HIIT training and weights, but no weights and all kinds of stuff. The first question you have to ask yourself before you get into how you're going to do this is, why does this matter to you? Why does this matter to you? Why does it matter to you to get your physical shit together to leave a legacy of health and fitness for your kids? And for a lot of dads, it might be just as simple as, look, my dad died when he was 60 of a heart attack. I don't want to be that guy. You know what? Fine. That'll drive you hard. Like, you'll go to, drink the second beer and go, I don't want to be that guy. and that's powerful, or you won't make the brownies, or you won't stop by fast food and you'll go grocery shopping instead. Like, that's enough to drive somebody. But why does this matter to you? And so I'll talk to guys who are like, yeah, I really want to gain some muscle, or I really want to see my six pack again, or something like that. And then we'll get into the nitty gritty a little bit. They're like, oh, what about graham crackers? Are those okay? And you laugh, but this is the nitty gritty stuff people ask in a consultation about nutrition and stuff. And they'll say, and I'll stop them. I'll be like, all right, let's stop for a second. I'm going to cook my kids a dinner and then me a dinner. Like, stop it for a second. All right. What do you want? Do you want your child, when they're your age, when they're 30, when they're 40, do you want your child to be counting calories? To be asking a coach about what veggies are good and what veggies are bad? Do you want them to be having to track every little tiny thing in MyFitnessPal and measuring everything? Do you want your kid to be doing that? No. Okay. Then what the hell? Like, your nutrition, your exercise, your lifestyle right in this second. If you could envision the best for your kid, if you could envision the best case scenario, what does their nutrition, what does their exercise, what does their lifestyle look like when they're your age? Because that's what you have to live right.
Come on, Alex, you were dropping some bombs with us.
Motivated.
Okay.
Do you still got me?
Yeah, I got you now, man.
I was at the climax, man.
I know.
So jazzed.
Is it because your testosterone dropped 80%?
Hey, my kid's 3. I'm at like 40 now. All right.
Just jokes. What I did extrapolate from it was this, though. A lot of people will come to you and they'll want to be in their optimal self, right? So they'll be asking you about the graham crackers and keto and stuff like that. Yeah. But truly, the motivation, another motivating factor that should be huge right now, is that becoming the optimal self, like, models and transfers those values of living an optimal life to the people who matter most.
You got it, man. In the dad world, the only thing that's more motivating inside of you than yourself is your kids and your family. Like, that's it. Ask yourself, what would you do for your kid that you wouldn't do for yourself? And you'll come up with a nice laundry list. And then ask yourself, what would you do for yourself that you wouldn't do for your kid? Probably not much. And that's been true across the board among every dad I've spoken with about defining dad bod. What would you do for your kid that you wouldn't do for yourself? And that's the question you have to ask when it comes to your health and fitness. So once you find that why, then it comes the question of how, right? And with defining dad bod, I coach toward hormones. So we start with insulin. We get your insulin working for you rather than against you, so you're burning fat as a fuel source. Then we go to cortisol. We got to get your stress levels under control, biologically speaking. Then we go to testosterone. We got to get you strong and manly and putting on the muscle mass you need and dropping that fat mass, feeling more like yourself. And then lastly, the thyroid hormone. And so we've worked through that in a broadcast I call Overcoming Obesity, and there's several parts to that, but you can check that out on the Defining Dad Bod site if you're interested. And I can even send your listeners a link if they want to get connected to that. Oh yeah, let's do it.
So talk a little bit more about this hormone pyramid.
Yeah. You're a Maslow fan, aren't you?
I'm all about the Maslow stuff.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You're kind of talking about, sort of this hierarchy of hormones. So I'm like,
you got it, brother.
It kind of sounds like a pyramid. So talk about it.
Yeah. Not a pyramid scheme. Let's make sure we're on the same page.
So if you go to my website,
you can also become a distributor of Dad Bod.
That's not what we meant, unless you want to minutes. Only 19 minutes to subscribe.
This guy. If you act now, then we'll throw in a shaker bottle. I'm just kidding.
Yes.
Yes. I can make jokes about the fitness industry fads all day. I'm going to shut up. All right. So if you're familiar with Maslow is a psychologist, and I know you are, but just for the viewers here, he created a hierarchy of needs. And the idea is you can't really move up the hierarchy to what he called self-actualization, pursuing the best version of yourself, unless you've addressed the lower rungs first. And at the bottom of the hierarchy is things like food, water, and shelter, right? If you're starving, it's raining on your head, and you're dehydrated, you're not really worried about how you're going to be better tomorrow. You're just worried about eating, drinking something, and finding a cave to sleep in. Like, that's what you're worried about, right? So in that sense, from a fitness perspective, the question is, where can I start in my health and fitness to see the most results in the shortest time possible in a sustainable and safe way? And so when you look at hormones, and that's a hard question because everybody's different genetically and everybody's different environmentally, and everybody's got different obstacles in their life and different wants and needs and blah, blah, blah. And there's a plethora of books out there that's like the keto solution or, the paleo blueprint or something like that. They're like, I found the answer for everybody. And it's, it's always it's the same stuff. Like, eat real food, stop eating junk food, go exercise and do athletic things and get enough sleep. Like, awesome. Yeah. Like, that's what you gotta do, right? But from a program perspective, we generally know what to do. We're just not doing it. So psychologically speaking, it's important that you grow in both difficulty and in results. And if you and I worked super hard for the next month and we're still like pinching the same fat we were on our stomach, 4 weeks from now, we're going to give up. We're going to be like, well, I did all that. Nothing happened. So the question is,
you know what? That's something that's happened to me. I'm like, damn it, I worked the whole month and like, I still gotta like suck in when I'm putting the button on.
I'm so sick of measuring how much meat I'm eating. I want more coffee. How long?
And then it turns since it's not working, I'm just gonna eat a second helping now. Like, F this, it like goes into death spiral.
You're not any better off than you started. So anyway, the hormone pyramid builds on these hormones in the sense that if you address things higher up the pyramid, like thyroid, you'll notice thyroid was at the top of the pyramid, kind of like Maslow's self-actualization. Right. If you go to the doctor and you say, hey, doc, I'm fat, I'm feeling unenergetic, my hair is kind of wonky, he'll do a test on you and go, oh, your thyroid's low, and he'll give you thyroid hormone. And then you'll take it for a year and nothing will change. And the question is why? Why, if my thyroid was the problem, did thyroid medication not fix the problem? Right now, there are some people, I've got somebody in my life who's removed, like their thyroid's removed. It makes sense for them to have thyroid hormone replacement therapy. But there's 40% of women between ages 30 and 50 are on thyroid medication right now. That's insane. But they're not losing the weight they want to lose, and they're not feeling any more energetic. So the question is thyroid the problem? No, it's not. If you go all the way down the pyramid and you ask, hey, what's responsible?
Be live, I'm going to kill you, sucker MCs.
Oh,
VanHouten, you better get your ass back in here.
Come here.
What is the problem, VanHouten?
I'm here. Can you see me now?
Okay, so I'm thinking what I'm hearing is this, y'all. I'm just gonna share my notes because he's the expert, and I'm gonna freestyle flow while VanHouten is getting his stuff back in order. Come on
I'm
back because we
here.
can't see you, bro.
I'm here.
Um, so this is what I got so far. He's got this pyramid, and so what I heard Alex talking about was this idea that if the thyroid is at the top, right, the top of the pyramid, that's the ultimate place, and they give you sort of thyroid medication. If you don't have all of this shit in order, this medication is not going to work. Does that make sense to you guys? That's what I'm getting out of it. Oh, I'm freestyling. Thank you for coming back. Did that make sense? Did you see what I just did?
You did such a good job, man. I'm so impressed. I was like, what do you mean you can't see me? Come back. That was great. That was great. Here, let me help you fill in the rest of that pyramid.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't paying attention. You thought I was just looking at those little arms of yours. No, I want
little arms. Let's choose our words a little. I'm kidding. I'm not a huge guy. I'm like 168 pounds. It's not. I mean, they're just
he's about to show one more off again.
So as I was saying, at the bottom of the pyramid, then we have to address insulin. Insulin is the hormone that's responsible for whether or not you use fat as a fuel source or carbs as a fuel source. At its most basic level, there's a lot more to it than that. But if you have a lot of insulin in your system and your blood sugar is going all wonky, then it doesn't matter what else you do. You're going to accumulate fat. That's just how it works. And you're going to have poor energy and blah, blah, blah. So from a very simple perspective for insulin, if we limit our sugar, according to the American Heart Association, you need less than 40 grams of sugar per day, unless you're a conditioned athlete. Less than 40 grams of sugar per day. And that is according to the American Heart Association to stave off heart disease. And from a nutrition perspective, if we get more than 30 grams of fiber per day, that will help us to balance out our blood sugar and get insulin working for us rather than against us. On the lifestyle side, under insulin, on the lifestyle side, we need 10,000 steps a day, which is just, hey, don't sit all day, please. As often as you're able to, get up, go for a walk. 10,000 steps a day. It's activity that makes you more insulin sensitive, right? And then when you're walking and you're limiting your sugar and you're getting enough fiber, then the last thing you need to do from a lifestyle perspective is drink enough water. When you're dehydrated, you burn more carbohydrates as a fuel source and less fat. And so generally the way I walk people through this pyramid is insulin, cortisol, testosterone, thyroid. And we spend 4 weeks building up that pyramid each level. And so after 16 weeks, the goal is to get you hormonally straightened out so that your body's working for you rather than against you. And none of it's rocket science. Like I'm talking about setting bedtimes and getting weight training as a part of your program and starting to meditate each day, like things like that. None of it's crazy. None of it's asking you to take weird, I don't know, get ripped quick supplements. And I'm not asking you to cut your calorie intake to 1,000 calories a day. In fact, I don't mention calories once unless you're interested. But the point is, we got to get insulin working for you so that you're burning fat. We've got to get cortisol working for you so you're not running from a mountain lion all day long, internally speaking. We got to get testosterone working for you so that your sex hormone system is building up the candle rather than burning the candle at both ends, which is what a lot of people are doing. And then lastly, then we can address the thyroid. Then the thyroid becomes an interesting and important part of your metabolism. The only reason it always shows up negative at the doctor is because the thyroid, that poor hormone, is the one that craps out first with all of the stress of the rest of the pyramid jacked up. So they're like, you should take thyroid medication. And I'm like, you should sleep and stop eating so much sugar. That's what I think.
Well, and it makes total sense when you have it like Maslow'ian's pyramid, right? Like you cannot be self-actualized if you have nowhere to sleep.
That's right.
Right? You're going to be running from lions the whole time, right? So we've got some questions here. Angela Swanson, is that all 30? Is that 30 all sugars or processed?
Great question. If you suspect insulin's a problem for you, which means you have weird energy, you're collecting fat, then all sugar, not just processed sugar, all sugar. And I said 40 grams to make the nice healthy medium between the guy and girl recommendation. Actually, if you dig a little deeper into the American Heart Association, the girl's recommendation is 34. The guy's recommendation is 46. And that's not a horrible sexist injustice. It's just that men generally are larger than women. That's all.
Okay. 34 grams, women. 46 grams, men. And that's all sugars. So I'm just throwing that there just so you can have a mental reference if you're watching the replay of this. So that is cool. Now, what about like, so for example, in terms of steps, right? I can do that in between my golden mics and stuff like that. I've got my watch. I can count those as well.
Sure.
What about things like increasing? You know, I also have a bike, and so if I don't have time to walk, like I'll do a heavy bike day, just of cardio. Does that, like, do those things translate?
That's a great question. Yeah, it's better than nothing. I'm really glad that if you don't have a choice, you're like, hey, I'm gonna hit this bike. However, fascinating longitudinal study about the difference between activity and exercise. What they did is they found people who were getting 10,000 steps a day, but weren't exercising. So they weren't, breaking threshold with their heart rate. They weren't sweating at the gym. They weren't lifting weights, whatever. 10,000 steps a day. Then they found people who were exercising, but not getting enough steps in a day. So somewhere less than 7,000 steps. What they found when they projected that over 10 years, and this is a longitudinal study as well, is that the people who were more active, even if they weren't working out, they lived longer. They had less incidence of all-cause mortality. In other words, activity keeps you from dying. Exercise helps you look and feel good. Quantity of life, quality of life. So the question is, nobody looks good in a pine box. In other words, like, you can have a six-pack, but if you die early, that's not good. So it seems and this is fascinating. This isn't about the hormone pyramid necessarily. This is fascinating stuff. We need activity. We need it. We can get by without exercise. Like, life-wise, we can get by. But we need activity for quantity of life, and we need exercise for quality of life.
It's interesting. That is a total eye opener for me, because I always thought that you could be like, just as long as I'm doing, just as long as I'm doing something,
Well,
but,
like I said, I don't want to shoot you in the foot either, because from a behavioral perspective, doing something is always better than doing nothing. Always better than doing nothing. Like, I want to high five your effort there, man. And same, if you're watching and you're like, I get my exercise in, I get like 2,000 steps in a day because I'm an accountant and I'm at my computer all the time. I'm not saying you suck because you're not getting enough steps. I'm saying that your next step of progress in your own health is to start working some steps into your day in order to get insulin working for you rather than against you.
Gotcha. So when you're just thinking about the pyramid, you want to think about those steps. It's bonus, like what Ben's talking about. It's a powerful insight, activity plus exercise. Right?
That's right. Now, quality of life, quantity of life.
Now, what is the where do you define the difference between the two? Because
that's a great question.
It's a Venn diagram, right? Like,
very much.
The activity.
Very much. So exercise and activity, and I can get pretty technical here, so if you want me to go deeper, let me know. But very, very simply, activity is just moving. Like, I'm standing right now. I'm like, la-da-da, and I'm a jittery person. Woohoo. And there you go. I'm taking the baby for a walk. This is called the baby walk dance. And that's, right? I'm playing at the playground. That's activity, right? Yeah. Exercise is intense enough to create an adaptation. Exercise is intense enough to create an adaptation. Activity, you can do all day, every day. Doesn't change anything about you. It's just you moving, taking the Corvette out for a spin. Okay? You're the Corvette in that scenario. Taking the Corvette out for a Sunday drive. But exercise is intense enough that your body goes, holy crap, I'm not strong enough for this. or holy crap, I'm not endurable enough for this, or holy crap, I'm not balanced enough for this. And so it forces, from a biological perspective, an adaptation. You get bigger muscles, you get more balanced. And so anytime you feel challenged physically, you're entering the realm of exercise. But when it ceases to be a physical challenge, it's an activity. So movement is activity. Exercise creates an adaptation because you're riding the edge of what you're capable of, right? And there's a bunch we could say about that: power, strength, agility, endurance. There's a lot of exercise abilities, right? But the primary difference between the two is when it ceases to be a challenge to your system.
Okay. And how much is not challenging enough to your system when it comes to activity? Let's say I just get up, I take 5 steps, I sit down. Then I go to work for 3 hours, right? Like that, being hyperbolic, you know what I mean? Like what is a technically I can get in 10,000 steps and just be like, walk 1 down, and then.
That's a great question. In fact, for that reason, some of these apps are really popular. They're like micro exercise apps. They ding every 20 minutes and give you some task like push-ups, burpees, whatever. I do that anyway because I'm a weirdo, and I have a 3-year-old and I work from home. So he might run in here with a Jedi sword at any moment. I don't know, and that it's game on. Like we're gonna get 500 steps in the next 10 minutes. Like right?
So a little one with a Jedi sword. That will keep your cortisol high. Like any point you can get.
You never know. Sometimes he doesn't come at you with the foam sword. Sometimes it's like a legit, I don't know, hammer from the garage, and you're like, whoa, that's not what it is. Yeah,
put the knife down. Right? Put the knife down.
How did you get a hammer? Like, why? So to the question though. Any activity is better than no activity. So if you're sitting there, stand up. That's a progress. If you're sitting there, I always say, part of the hormone pyramid, and this is kind of a joke, but it's true. If you drink enough water, you have to get up to pee at some point, right? And that's your cue. Like your bladder's full, get up. And don't just go to the bathroom and come back. Get up, pee, and go do something for a second. Take a lap or 2 around the house, wave at the neighbors. If you got a nice little cul-de-sac, or you got a block or a city block, I don't care. Just do it. Do a lap on the stairs, Anyway, so if you drink enough water, it might drive that activity problem for you, and they work together.
Bro, thanks for telling me that. I've been sitting in a pool of my own pee for 4 days.
I've figured out
these little hacks.
You and your diapers, man.
You can see that. Okay, never mind.
No, I can't. I can only see from here up. You're good.
let's throw this out here. Tuan said I've been told never to work out fully at the gym, just push 80%. And while other trainers are pushing hard, and both are doing functional training.
Great question. Yeah. So notice I said when you start to fall into the realm of challenge, it becomes exercise and not activity, right? 80%, Tuan, is a challenge. Like on a scale 1 to 10, how hard are you working right now? Oh, I'm an 8 out of 10. That's not an 8 out of 10. I'm an 8 out of 10. That's not an 8 out of 10. That's like a 3 out of 10, but you want to feel like you're an 8 out of 10. when you're in that 7, 8, 9, 10, we call it rate of perceived exertion. Mm-hmm. When you're 7, 8, 9, 10, when you're there, that's because it feels challenging. You would report, yeah, I'm pushing myself about 80%. It's pretty tough. It's not exhaustion. It's not muscle failure, but it's pretty tough, right? And that's exercise. When you're pushing yourself really close to your limit, not at the limit every time. That's not adaptive. You're going to break your body down like that. If you go to the gym and do your squats as heavy as possible every single time, your knees are going to fall off. Well, they're not, but your patella is not going to like you, and your cartilage is going to get all torn up. So yeah, you should be exercising about 70 to 80% of your intensity most of the time. Now, there's some reasons to exercise at a lower intensity. Let's say you're deconditioned. Okay, you haven't lifted weights in a while. You shouldn't go to the gym and try to lift the heaviest, 70% of my 1 rep max weight.
You're gonna max that,
right? Because what's going to happen is your tendons and ligaments are going to get really angry at you, which is actually why in the hormone pyramid you won't see exercise show up until the testosterone mark. I won't begrudge you. You want to start exercising? Fantastic. Whatever. More power to you. Get it done. But as far as weight training is concerned, and like high intensity interval training, stuff like that, that doesn't show up until further up the pyramid, man. Like if you can get to walking every day, if you're pretty conditioned, you want to go for a jog every day, you're going to keep your normal workout routine at 80% of your maximum effort, great, keep up the good work, but let's get those insulin and cortisol systems working for you. And then we'll coach the weight training side, which has plenty of science to it. Yeah. And if we had another 3 hours, we could talk about it.
And well, you're gonna be back on the show. We can't do 3 hours because we've probably got meetings and stuff. Ben, I do see what you're putting in there, man. I'm not gonna put it on because I want to ask you a couple more questions. But thanks for putting that in. One, I think that when you're working on reps only to 80%, but when you test your max, you go to 100%. Again, that sounds like exercise. But Ben, thanks for throwing that in there. So let's say we're doing the water, we're doing the 10,000 steps a day, 40 grams of fiber. The sugar is less than 40 grams. Am I getting that right?
30 grams of fiber, 40 grams of sugar.
30 grams of fiber, 40 grams of sugar. When do we, like, how do we actually have a feedback loop, or what are we going to experience to let us know that our insulin is back sort of in a good place?
Sexy question, Mark, and the hair too. That helps. So that's important. So look, if you're eating too much sugar and you're not eating enough fiber and you're not getting enough steps and you're not drinking enough water, and you add that to your life, you will immediately see 1 to 3 pounds of weight loss over a 1 to 2 week time frame. Immediately, because you're inflamed from too much sugar. Your digestive system's not moving very well, and your blood sugar is kind of wonky because you're not getting enough fiber. You start walking, that's going to make you more insulin sensitive. So what happens is, as the insulin levels in your body, your fasted insulin levels start to come down, your body's going to let go of a lot of inflammation. So your initial weight loss is not like, oh, I listened to this guy and I lost so much fat in 1 week. That's not it.
Is that how I sound?
No, not you at all. It's just something I hear in the fitness industry a lot. You know, I took this new supplement and that's just awesome. and I always want to be like, all right, pause. Like Facebook, can you bring me back to this person a year from now? I just want to ask how it went. I just want to see like if they continued that. No offense to anybody out there. It just, like, as somebody who cares about this in the long term, it burns my butt to see people tricked into fads. It drives me bonkers. Anyway, so you'll drop some water weight, okay? That'll happen relatively quickly. And then you'll start to see some fat loss. Now, if you simultaneously start a workout program, if you start exercising, then you might not see your overall weight change because the water weight will go down, the inflammation will go down, but your muscle mass will start to grow, your blood volume will start to grow as metabolically active tissues start to take on some good water, some intracellular water. There's a lot to that too. But anyway, you should see some weight drop there. And then if you're on a sugar, like you've been eating a lot of sugar and you try to get less than 40 grams, get ready to feel like crap for like 3 days. Like it's withdrawal, sure. Man. It's withdrawal. Sure. Food's going to taste like garbage. Your brain's going to be like, hey, where's all my sugar? And so that's tough. After that, you'll see a consistency in your energy, which is really powerful. Okay. It helps you with hunger regulation and everything. So initial drop in inflammation, initial drop in some fat. If you simultaneously start exercising, you might not see overall weight change, but you will see the inches change, and then consistent energy.
Gotcha. We don't have that much time, but also at the same time, stress is a big thing. Stress is a big thing, and I do see cortisol being up on the next part of the pyramid. Yeah. Is there a quick way that you could talk about taming that stress monster?
Yes, yeah, taming the stress monster, man. It's a big one, and the reason it's important is, imagine you have a candle. You know, everybody's mom was like, "Don't burn the candle at both ends," right? You have a candle. It's called DHEA. It's the building block for all of the other hormones in your body. Okay, you have a candle, and when you're young, you have a lot of wax on that candle. You start burning that candle at both ends. Eventually, it runs out, and cortisol. The cortisol system, the fight or flight system, is the part of you that burns that candle at both ends so that you have nothing left for your other hormone systems. So we have to tame the stress monster, because if we don't, then testosterone is going to suffer, thyroid's going to suffer, and a few other systems are going to suffer as well. So, and imagine this too. The reason this matters is because testosterone, what is that? Baby making hormone is a good way to put it. Like, you don't need to make babies if you're running from a mountain lion. Like, it doesn't matter. In that moment, you got to make it out of that before you can go make babies, right? So,
wait, can you do that again? Can you said running from the mountain?
You don't need to make babies.
But do the baby making move first. You don't need to make.
I don't know if I did that. I didn't.
You don't need to make babies.
There you go. This guy. But let's say you and I are hanging out right now, and a mountain lion. I say mountain lion. I'm here in Colorado. Like, that could really happen. Mountain lion jumps out from behind the wall right here. Immediately, epinephrine hits my system. Cortisol goes up. My fingernails stop growing. My hair stops growing.
Yeah.
Food stops moving through my digestive system. Okay. And what's crazy about this cortisol system is most people aren't stressing about a mountain lion. It's traffic. It's email from my boss. It's, making all the ends meet at home financially. It's that stuff. So you're not necessarily running from a mountain lion, but you have the same biological effect as running from a mountain lion. And so the short of it is, for cortisol, how do we address cortisol? On the lifestyle side, you need to introduce some meditation into your life. That helps with the stress management across the board. And I'm not talking anything crazy. Download the Headspace app. It'll lead you through a 3 to 5 minute meditation. Save your life. Do that every day. Big deal. Gets everything relaxed, right? Secondly, on that side of things, you need to set a bedtime. Like, you need to set a bedtime. Cortisol is a slow moving train. And if you're not going to bed and you're not waking up at the same time every day, you're going to have a hard time getting everything working for you in the cortisol system. A bad night of sleep can ruin your cortisol for 3 days. So that's tough. And then on the nutrition side of things, you can help yourself by giving your body the building blocks it needs to build the wax back into the candle. So a multivitamin, a fish oil, and a protein supplement can help to do that. I'm not a huge supplement junkie. I've done a lot of shows on it on my side on Defining Dad Bod, but be smart about it and get yourself some foundational supplementation to help you through that phase. And once you're not stressed all the time, then we can worry about getting it just from our food, right? And then the last thing you can do is limit your caffeine intake after 12 p.m. Caffeine can stay in some people's systems for up to 12 hours and can continue to ruin your sleep even into the night. So you'll still get to sleep. Yeah. You're like, oh, my coffee doesn't bother me. I still sleep. Okay, well, we can't track your delta wave sleep, but that's the sexy one that builds up your caffeine.
Yeah, I heard it messes up your sleep patterns, even though you feel like you.
12 p.m. Cut your caffeine, man.
So I've also heard this as well. When it comes to stress, you probably know this more than I do, but in studying in psychology, chronic stress lowers it cuts your DNA polymerase down. Right, and that's right, and that's actually genetically passed to your children. If you're stressed out on a chronic level, you actually pass that to your children. They're more vulnerable to it, to stress. So keep that in mind as well. So even before you make your next baby, think about just getting that meditation app. Ben, but do running from the mountain lion or baby making count as exercise or activity? There's some sort of adaptive strategy there.
How deep do we want to go here? Yeah. Which probably has to do with whether it's exercise or activity. I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
If I didn't know Tuan, this sounds like a pickup line, but I'm going to put it up there. Are you a smoothie guy?
Wait. Let me write my number down for him real quick.
Tuan, you are so smooth, brother.
Let me address smoothie real fast, because people think if they throw a bunch of bananas and some strawberries into a blender, they can blend it up and they're like, yeah, I'm so healthy. Look, if you're trying to get this insulin thing under control, it doesn't matter if the sugar's coming from fruit or if it's coming from a Reese's Piece, okay? Reese's Pieces, does anybody eat that anymore? Now, I'm not saying they're equivalent. Sure, fruit's got antioxidants and some vitamins and minerals that Reese's Pieces don't have, right? But if you're trying to get insulin to work for you rather than against you, then limiting your sugar is a big piece of that. Okay, and your bananas and strawberry smoothies aren't helping. So if you're gonna make a smoothie, put some veggies in there, put some protein in there, put some good fats in there. Avocado is my favorite, and that'll help you with the sugar thing. But don't fool yourself by throwing 3 cups of fruit into a blender and saying, "Yeah, I'm so healthy," and I just threw 70 grams of sugar into my body. Like, awesome.
There goes my lunch. There goes my lunch, baby. But I got a salad. So I'm gonna rock that with some oil and a little bit of salmon. How does that sound?
That's sexy. I love that. Protein, fat, and fiber, man.
I'm gonna put that in a blender. So then I can give Tuan, come and get my number. I'm a smoothie guy too.
A salmon smoothie? That's the grossest thing.
Let's do it, brother. Let's do it. Because I want to be a smoothie guy. Nathan just popped in. Wife is on the Candida diet right now. And you're aware of the Candida diet. The sugar withdrawals are real crazy. So it's probably driving Nathan crazy with her sugar withdrawal.
Yeah, that's tough. And you know how I said serotonin's tied to testosterone, and guys, in a female's cycle, it's the progesterone and estrogen cycle. So if she's no sugar and she's in that lull, dude, you might join the roller. Join the roller derby for a bit and get out of the house.
So I just needed to throw this in there again. So I have to stop eating my fried rice and pho soup. Damn, son! It ain't easy being cheesy. Like, we went from dad vibes to dad jokes.
Oh, jeez. Oh, this is good. This is good. Hashtag
and I did want to throw that in there because, like, I've been working with a nutritionist for a while, and like, there are things that I culturally have been brought up with. Like, you eat a big ass plate of rice with things, you know? And so they were like, cut it out. Absolutely. I'm like, so you're telling me not to be Filipino now, man?
That's like half of my food.
It's like, dude, that's been like 40 years, dude. So there are some like cultural implications that we don't need to go into, but yeah, you know. Nathan wrote back, dude, you have no idea. Nathan, extra hearts for you, brother. Extra hearts for you. Alex, I wanted to throw this out as well. Like, you break this down almost to a point where, like, 1,000 steps, I mean, you got to commit to it, but it's easy. Drinking water is easy, you know? Yeah. What are some of the things that we can expect? Because all change is, in my perspective, there are difficulties in change.
Absolutely.
So what can we expect, especially with the first 2 levels of that pyramid? I know that you said that we're going to feel a little bit of sugar withdrawal, right? What are some of the other barriers that might stop us that we should right now say, if I feel sugar withdrawal, then don't eat sugar still? Like, give ourselves these little pep talks to write down to expect.
Sure, absolutely. And that's huge. I love that you're a positive psychology coach in that sense, because the more proactive you can be about this, the more likely you are, because you'll identify those obstacles before they come up, right? So the devil's in the details here, Mark, because everybody's life is a little bit different. You know, my 3-year-old will eat an avocado. Some people's 3-year-old will freaking trip out if you get rid of the animal crackers, dude. Like, that's tough. That's an obstacle, right? Yeah. So that being said, I would say there are a few things that really shoot people in the foot. One, you don't have as much willpower as you think you do. You don't have as much willpower as you think you do. And so you need to mobilize all of your resources to help you get over this hump, right? If you don't have a coach, get one. You don't have a battle buddy, get one. I don't even care if it's a professional coach. A battle buddy, somebody to go through this with, helps a lot, right? Second, your support system is part of that resource system. If you got a bunch of buddies who want to go out every Friday night and get hammered, you're going to have a real hard time with cutting out alcohol in the testosterone phase. That's a big deal. And I don't know why it's like this now. And maybe you need new friends. I'm sorry, because acquaintances and accomplices are different. But they're different. You got people who enable you and people who help you change for the better and want the best for you, right? Rather than dragging you down into their pit. But the social support system today, if you say, I'm doing the defining dad bod hormone thing, so I can't eat cheesecake, whatever. Yeah. People go, oh, what's that? That's kind of cool. I'll try that. Like, and that's fine now. I don't know why it's fine now, but it's fine now. It used to be you do that, people look at you kind of weird. So maybe you're trying this thing and you can mobilize your support system in favor of you, but your support system is going to be a huge deal. And then the last thing I would say that really shoots people in the foot is you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect. Remember, the whole point of this whole defining dad bod thing is to leave a legacy of health and fitness for our kids. I get French toast every Friday morning with my son. I love the hell out of some French toast, dude. It's not great for my insulin, but I'm not like, oh, I have to be so healthy. I can't enjoy French toast.
That voice again.
We live by the 80-20 or 90-10, depending on how intense you want to be about it. Yeah. I don't really count, but we live by that rule in my house. And make conscious decisions about how you're going to operate with regard to your kids, with regard to your family. You're going home for Thanksgiving and mom's peach cobbler is the best thing since sliced bread. Don't go, no, mom, I've got to watch my dad bod because I sucked the other 364 days of the year. I can't enjoy your peach cobbler. Like, live your life so that you can consciously enjoy the things that make life worth living. And those things that are working counter to that, those don't need to be a part of it. So you're not 100%. You're not this crazy health zealot Nazi person. You are living by the 80-20 rule. And that 20% is not a cheat meal. It's a conscious decision to make those things a part of your life because they're important to you. So that would be the three things.
So we're going to do one last comment here. My favorite thing to tell people when getting over the vice foods, sweets, is teaching them to say out loud, I don't eat that. When it comes to the food cravings, it's no instant fix, but it does help retire. I think that means rewire your brain when it comes to those foods, drinks you should avoid. It's like a mindset hack almost, right?
Yeah. It's like, that's not a part of my life, or that's not a part of my nutrition, or that's not a part of how I do things. You know, I think it was Louis C.K. He's an interesting cat. He does a lot of weird skits. But one thing he said, and I loved this, he's like, you know, I eat a donut. And it tastes good or whatever. And then I could eat salmon and it doesn't taste as good, but whatever. But they get to my body and I imagine my cells look at the salmon and go, oh, salmon, I can do stuff with that. I can build tissue. I can put out some energy. You know, I can build hormones. This is great. And then the donut hits the system and the cells are like, just send that through. I don't even know what to do with that. Like, what are we going to do with that? Let's play a joke on them and send it through whole. Ha ha ha. Like, don't put that crap in here. So
PG-13 dad bod joke.
Right. Well, yeah. So when you eat and you realize that every 7 years, every cell in your body is going to be different. Every molecule in your body is going to be different. You literally become what you put in your face. And you say, do I want to be this donut? Or do you want to be that salmon? I don't know. It sounds like a silly thing, but ask yourself what it's helping you accomplish, and it'll help a lot.
That's freaking awesome, dude. I feel like I've gotten. It's not that I feel. I'm gonna watch this one again, bro. Because I've been getting your emails. And also, I think this is gonna balance that, like make it even better. It's funner to see you walk and then do these like baby carriage things when you're look at your and then I'm watching Goku's body in the background. Amazing. Oh, right. So we got your coach. If you look in the show notes, everybody, defining Coach AL at definingdadbod.com. Looks like you've got a nice little offer there for us. You're going to take some time out if we email you. What's going to go on if we email you about that?
So if you email me, it'll bring you right to my calendar. And what we'll do there is I'll find out what your concerns are, and we'll start there. It's important that we know what your goals are, what your concerns are. And let's say you're like, hey, this virtual coaching thing's probably not for me. Don't worry, I'm not interested in selling you anything. I have a lot of free resources because of that reason. And I don't want to work with you like that unless you're ready to jump in the water head first. So you do that. We'll talk through your concerns and whatnot and see what I can do to help motivate you and commit you to this. Outside of that, I will also offer you, in addition to my hormone optimization pyramid over that 16 weeks. So it's a free email system that will walk you all the way through the pyramid. So
I need to put it back up there because that's the one that I'm getting right now. So
Yeah.
Email Alex, schedule something, or you can just get that email, the email drip. It's super cool, the email drip, and it's super easy to implement. But the thing is it's always good to see the person, and like you were talking about, find an accountability buddy. You know, what I might do is I might go back in my Beyond Resilient Underground, and I might start a challenge with all the dads in the group.
That's a great way to do it.
Beginning of the month, and all of us will go and email you at the same time.
There you go, perfect.
Then you're right. So we all get the drip at the same time. Absolutely love it. I'm gonna go and do that. Make sure that if it's cool with you, I'm gonna make
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah.
So we'll do a challenge, and maybe you can show up. And if we're having some issues with certain things, you can be like, "Yo, guys, quick tip: put the donut down, asses."
I'd be happy to do a quick Q&A too. There's, like I said, this is a great guideline, but the devil's in the details, and sometimes people need some help working through the devil.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, what a great day. Loved having you on the show. Alex VanHouten. This is the thing. This is where I go into coaching mode, buddy. We're going to do a visualization activity, right? So
let's do it.
Over there in Colorado, I want you to imagine that a golden mic is coming down from your ceiling, resting right in front of your face, right? Yeah. So that golden mic for testing, that golden mic for 2 minutes or less translates into every language all across the world. Everyone is listening. You can say whatever you want into this golden mic. All right. So I'm gonna hit the switch, and Alex VanHouten, you are on the golden mic live now.
Your body, your mind, and your spirit are all connected, and you can't get away from it. You only get one opportunity to do this right, and you're going to pass that on to the people in your community and your progeny. So here's the thing. You need to get your stuff together. You need to take responsibility for yourself. And if you need some help doing it, there are a lot of people out in the world. I hope I can be one of them for you to make that happen. So get your stuff together and help us leave a legacy of health and fitness for our kids, because that's what this is all about.
You can take that golden mic. You can drop that golden mic like it's hot. Dude, that was an expensive for a golden mic. You just exploded in the world. Alex VanHouten, it's been an honor talking to you, man. You're doing amazing stuff. This has been episode 83 of the Golden Mic Live. For those of you who are watching, send this to a dad that you care about. Share it out, because this was really great stuff. And then my final question to all of you watching the replay or live is this. If you're feeling great and you're living life to your fullest, what is your responsibility to change history for the better? This has been Golden Mic 83. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Oh, yeah!